This is the regular January 2024 meeting of the Board of Finance and meeting at 6:30 p.m. in the Selectmen's Conference Room. This is a hybrid meeting. And this meeting is being recorded. Present, let's see, for the Board of Finance are John Grabowski, Katie Erickson, Martha Azarisi, I got it. Okay, and I'm Sharon Huxley. In addition, we have Andrea Hubbard, who is a member of the Amity Board of Education, Bob Britton, who is one of our selectmen, and we have, I can't even see, we have Terry Loomis, who is the Director of Finance for the Amity system. We have Dr. Byers, who is the superintendent of the Amity system. We have our Finance Director, Elizabeth Galupi. We have our first selectman, Paula Francesco, and we have Laura, I want to say Callery, but that's wrong. What's the matter?
Somehow it just bounced from our to the slideshow, so I'm trying to get back to us. It would be Lauren Cable.
Lauren Cable. I'm sorry, Lauren. I didn't think it was. I knew it was C. All right, are we?
We're recording.
But are we? Oh, okay. So the first item on our agenda is the budget presentation by the Amity Superintendent, Dr. Byers. This, actually, the detail of this budget was given to the Amity Finance Committee last night, but we really didn't have any time to, we didn't actually go over very much of the numbers. So hopefully Dr. Byers, Ms. Loomis will do that tonight. Dr. Byers, you're on.
Screen sharing. We're hoping that's what's happening.
No, you have that little red box at the top that says your screen sharing.
Yes, and it's not sharing. It's not sharing, but it's going to the next. I can see that. Now we are. Now we're good. Now we're back. Okay. The participants can now see. I think it is.
I'm just looking, looks like it was doing two.
No, that's two chat up in the chat. That was who was go ahead.
Oh,
I think you just want to, something like before we learn how to use the smelling.
One should show that Pula Ford is attending. You got it.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
And then she'll be back.
Yeah, over here.
I'll play
Gotcha.
back.
I promise, yeah. Okay. All right, let's jump to the next slide.
That I can do pretty easily.
Okay.
I'll just hit this button when I need to.
Okay.
So if you stay right there, I'll just stand over here and I can
Okay.
work left-handed.
I will let you.
So good evening. Thank you. It's very nice to see all of you here tonight. I appreciate the time. Last night, the clock stopped in our presentation room. So I kept thinking my presentation only lasted like 10 minutes. It did not. So I will be much more cognizant of how long it takes. And I will try not to keep you here too long this evening. As Ms. Huxley said, this is the initial presentations of the superintendent's budget. So just some okay.
That here, whatever.
So Connecticut General Statutes guides what we have to do as a budget. And this is directly from Chapter 164 that a regional school district is going to present a budget which includes an estimated receipts and expenditures for the next fiscal year, estimated receipts and expenditures for the current fiscal year, the estimated surplus or deficit, bonds and other debts, and the estimated per pupil expenditure. I've highlighted the word estimate because, of course, we start our budget process in September of the year before the students actually come to school. So we actually start our budget process almost 20 months before we finally close the books on June 30th of the following year, which is why estimate is such a key concept in building a school budget. Because of course we have a lot of moving parts that come with a school district budget.
This works this time.
There we go. Our budget has a foundation in several different things. The first is the board has a mission statement that they use to guide the budget development. We have 3 sort of primary goals in the areas of instruction, efficient use of resources, and a positive school climate. And then we have a commitment to a comprehensive education, which means we're providing a well-rounded education in academics, athletics, and the arts. We're also grounded with our portrait of the graduate, which was developed by members of our BOA community about 4 years ago, I think. And we are committed to making our students into collaborators, communicators, empathizers, problem solvers, and planners. So I'm going to start with just a quick review of some of the highlights that we achieve in the area of academics. This one is really important to me. There have been some incredible miscommunications recently in local newspapers, opinion articles that say we've eliminated all of our high-level classes. So I'm putting it out here on the record right now that that is absolutely misinformation. We currently have 28 advanced placement courses, which we have 42 honors courses. We have 4 UConn early college experience classes, a robust science research program, and 110 student clubs and organizations that support the extra and co-curricular activities of our students. Just a couple achievements from our kids. We have 16 National Merit Commended Scholars and 7 semifinalists for the current year. Our current senior class has 8 pre-apprenticeship students. Marissa Nall, a teacher at Bethany Middle School, was recognized as a semifinalist for the Connecticut Teacher of the Year program. Our students in science research program earned over 70 awards throughout their different competitions. And Trident, our student newspaper, has for the 2nd year in a row placed first in the American Scholastic Press Association for excellence in journalism. Our Amity Math team placed first in the Connecticut Math League competition. Our decathlon team received Rookie of the Year at the national competition. Our investment club placed 2nd in the Wharton School of Business Challenge World Championship. And our Junior States of America received recognition for the Northeast chapter of the year. Our current class graduates of 2024 submitted 105 early decision applications and about 1,300 plus early action applications. That's up by about 300 compared to our prior school year. We've also submitted over 2,600 regular decision applications. And as of yesterday, 282 students had already reported admission. That's up from about 104 students who reported admission at this time last year. What you're seeing is kind of a shifting trend in student application processes where kids apply earlier and get accepted much earlier in their senior year. It's kind of changing the workload of our counselors, but we're definitely recognizing, I mean, if you figure we have a senior class of 360, most of our kids have already by January been accepted to a college of their choice. Our graduates from last year, we had a 96% graduation rate. 86% of those students went on to 4-year schools, and we had students receiving over $110,000 in scholarships and awards. One of the ways that we measure our academic progress is not through the U.S. News World and Reports rankings. It's not through niche.com. It's actually through the state's Next Generation Accountability Index. The Accountability Index is sort of a multifaceted way in which the state measures the assessment of school district progress, and really is the way in which the State Board of Education and the State Department hold our Board of Education accountable for making sure we provide appropriate academic programming. These are just the DIRG B, or our district reference group performance levels. The yellow bar is Amity. Actually, you should be quite proud. To the left of Amity, the 2 red bars are Bethany and Woodbridge. And then over on the right side, on the other red bar is orange. So a couple things we can say about this. First of all, you'll see there's a really, really wide chunk of us in DIRG B that go from about 83 to 79 on the accountability index. It means we all perform it's essentially comparably, and we would expect that from our DIRG B school districts. I would say it's also not surprising that Amity falls in between the 3 elementary districts, because honestly, product in equals product out. So if you figure that we have a comprehensive K-12 system where we really are trying to align curriculum and instruction with our elementary districts, it would make sense that ultimately in the end, we're somewhat of an average of what's coming into us from our elementary school performance. I will also comment that our accountability score did go up from last year. And so we've been slowly increasing in this area ever since sort of a return to normal from the 1920 school year. So we do set district priorities primarily based off of that accountability index. And so some of the priorities that are reflected in the budget, grounded in that data, is continuing support for comprehensive academic programming, means we offer a wide range of classes in a variety of content areas. We do need to continue to address chronic absenteeism and school attendance. While it's improved, it is definitely not back to pre-pandemic levels. That is pretty consistent at school districts across the state. We also know that we do need to do more identification and intervention for students performing below grade level, particularly in math. We knew we saw a dip in math performance following COVID. We have not seen it rebound to the extent that we want to. Of course, now what we're seeing are kids who were in elementary school coming up into the middle and high school, and they're still performing a couple of years behind grade level. So it's something that we have to continue to address. We want to increase our opportunities for students to earn college credit while they are still enrolled in high school. We do have several unfunded mandates that we have to address. We are phasing in our Portrait of the Graduate mastery-based portfolio credit for students' diplomas, and we are continually updating and aligning a rigorous standards-based curriculum. With respect to athletics, this slide is really just to give you an appreciation of how many students are participating in our athletic program. If you figure in a high school of about roughly 1,300 students, about 1/3 of them are participating at every given season in our athletics. We offer 25 high school varsity sports programs, 2 teams of 1. These are opportunities for students with interest in something we don't quite support a team for to participate with other schools. 12 middle school sports programs, and a robust unified sports program. You can see our teams receive a lot of recognition, including SEC champions, both last year as well as in the fall season of this year. And our individual athletes and coaches also get a lot of recognition, having 24 all-state athletes last year, 8 already this year, and then certainly some SEC coaches of the year. In the area of the arts, we really provide a comprehensive education, again, in several different facets of the arts. Within the musical arts, our students participate in several regional musical festivals where they have to audition and are adjudicated. We also are incredibly involved in community performances, from Memorial Day parades to our winter and spring concerts, Music in Motion, the football games, and the pep band. So really trying to have our students out there with their musical arts. In the visual arts, we enter our students into several national competitions where our kids receive recognition and many honors, including the Scholastic Arts Competition. Actually, the students who were accepted this year just were released today, and we'll find out how they place in the upcoming weeks. We also do art exhibits at all of our libraries in our towns, as well as the Valley Arts Council Main Street Gallery. And last year we were recognized several times on World News with David Murr for the work that our photography students did in restoring the photographs that were just damaged during the hurricanes that came through Florida. In the area of performing arts, these are our theater and drama productions. Amity Middle School Orange and Bethany both put on sort of middle school versions of a musical. Annie and Frozen were the two select productions over the past 12 months. Lovesick was our Amity Creative Theater's fall drama production. Beauty and the Beast, which was our our high school musical last year, received 8 Sondheim Award nominations, including the Best Actress winner, which is sort of like the top prize. Think of like, you know, when you go to the Oscars, the Best Actress and Best Actor are the top prize. So that's a pretty high accolade. We have had a workshop with the cast from the Broadway show Mean Girls come to speak to our students, because coming in spring of 2024, our musical this year will be the musical adaptation of Mean Girls. So a quick budget overview. Several things that are driving our budget. Some of these you've seen before in the past. Some of them are going to be a little bit new. So I'm really going to try to hit on those. Contractual increases, state mandates, and academic performance are all things that you haven't probably seen before. You'll also see the bullet for increasing enrollment. I will say very clearly, increasing enrollment isn't driving the budget in the sense that we need more teachers, but it is driving the budget in the sense that we don't need any less teachers. So just like in the past, when our enrollment's gone down, we haven't reduced teachers because it really doesn't work out very neatly that way. As our enrollment goes up, we aren't adding staff, but what we are not able to do is find reductions in the amount of staff that we have. When you look at how our budget is divided out, the sort of big blue chunk and the red next to it are essentially salaries and benefits. So these are contractual obligations that we have to all of the individuals that we employ in the district. It occupies about 2/3 of the pie. Special education is in the green. It is an unfunded, well, partially funded federal and state mandate. It is not something that we have discretion as to whether or not we spend money on. Purchase services, texts and supplies are potential areas where we may have some discretion, but it's not so much discretion in that we don't do it. It's discretion in that we defer it into another budget year, which doesn't kind of help up and down budget swings. Debt services is something that we are obligated to contribute to, and that very small, thin piece of other may be another area where there is a moderate amount of discretionary options for spending. Every year I show our boards of finance and our board of ed this graph. Essentially, when 2/3 of the budget is driven by contractual increases, the idea of trying to have the budget increase and the contract increases sort of meet up is kind of a goal that we have. What you see is, you know, some years where the budget increases were lower than the contractual increases. So we would have made a lot of cuts and some efficiencies there. A couple years where they kind of sort of match up, or there's sort of this kind of, you know, up and down where it's hovering around the line. What is most notable is the sharp spike that represents the 2024-25 budget. So we did just settle a contract with our teachers. It is a 13.49% increase over 3 years. This is much higher than what we've seen for, I would say, the past 2 to 3 contract negotiation cycles. However, it is not significantly higher than what the state average is right now for teacher negotiations. And teacher negotiations tend to settle out to be all pretty much the same for the districts that are negotiating. In the 2024 school year, or 24-25, it's a 4.85% increase. Some stipends increase. We added a tuition reimbursement program. Healthcare, oftentimes we could offset contractual increases by increasing what our employees would pay for their healthcare. Our healthcare employee contributions are among the highest in the state. So we kept it flat. We couldn't use it to offset that cost. And so that's also kind of driving the bigger swing that we see in our contract settlement. We also still have 2 contracts to be negotiated this spring for paraeducators and nurses. So right now we have estimates, but we don't quite know how their contractual increases are going to pan out either. Several unfunded state mandates that we are now responsible for meeting. The first is that there is now a required financial literacy class for all of the students who are in the class of 2027 and beyond. That's basically our current 9th graders are going to have to take that class in order to graduate. We now have to provide special education services through the end of the school year in which a student turns 22. A couple of years ago, we used to provide it through the end of the school year when a student turns 21. Then the state changed it and said, you do it until the day before the kid turns 22. And now the state has changed it and said, now it's through the end of the year that they turn 22. We've essentially added almost 2 years of providing special education services. The kids who receive these services up to the age of 22 are our most profoundly disabled students, often requiring residential placements, significant behavioral or perhaps health interventions, transportation, because obviously the kids who require that type of support have the greatest need. Also connected with special education, there is now a state mandate that we have to have a required district transition coordinator. This is something that you're only going to see impacting the Amity budget, because transition is the process that we use for kids who are 14 years or older to start planning for what their success is going to look like once they exit school, whether it's going on to college or to employment or for sort of independent living skills. So we have to have a special designated person responsible for that work. Several required trainings that were added by state mandates. We also have 2 old state mandates that came in last year, the mandated HVAC inspections and the installation of feminine hygiene products into all of our restrooms. Both of these were deferred. And while we did set aside the money for the HVAC inspections, we haven't actually completed those at the high school due to scheduling constraints. So we're not quite sure what the results are going to be and how that may impact the budget. And we certainly don't know quite how the feminine hygiene product statute is going to play out in terms of both supplies as well as potential vandalism and maybe some damage by that installation. The personnel fiscal impact, we have added for teachers. The last 2, the financial literacy teacher is obviously to meet that unfunded state mandate. The district transition coordinator is to meet the other state mandate. We've also are proposing to add 2 math interventionists, specifically teachers, to address the needs of students who are performing below grade level in math. We are looking to add one.
Question, with the financial literacy teacher, there is specific curriculum for that?
Yes, the state has a specific curriculum that they will expect us to deliver. So currently, we do have 1 middle school math interventionist. Then they are supported with a paraeducator. So essentially they sort of split their time between the 2 middle schools, and then the paraeducator is in the schools when the teacher isn't. The proposal is to remove or reassign that special educator, sorry, not special educator, the paraeducator, and then to add an additional full-time math interventionist so that each middle school has a full-time teacher specifically there to help support students who are below grade level in their math instruction. It's modeled after our English and reading program that we've had in place for well over a decade. We would also like to add a high school math intervention teacher. We currently estimate between 60 to 100 students in the high school who are performing 1 to 2 grades below level in the areas of algebra and geometry. The current model essentially says, identifies students, and then we sort of say to the students, hey, during your study hall, please go see the math intervention tutors. You can imagine the success rate we have with telling high school students to take their study hall and go and get additional support in math. So by adding the math intervention teacher, we actually would be able to schedule students for math intervention with a teacher. We would be able to provide that direct support. They could also direct the work of those math intervention tutors and hopefully close that gap and decrease the number of students who are performing below grade level. The financial literacy teacher, like I said, we currently have 2 teachers in our business department, which is an offshoot of our CTE department. Within that department, we have a whole bunch of course offerings: accounting, advanced accounting, marketing, economics, entrepreneurship, and we do have financial literacy. The challenge is that the new requirement would increase the number of sections for financial literacy from 6, which is about what our students request right now, to 15. Increasing the number of sections to 15 would essentially gut the rest of the business department and all of those other courses that we offer wouldn't be available to students. Now, you have to also think about sort of the cause and effect. If we have all these robust business courses, and then we have a group of kids who go out and win an international competition in investing and in business, you would think that there's probably a correlation between what we provide and how our students fare in the world. I think taking away those classes just to meet a state requirement is really a disservice to our students. So it would be my hope that we can add the teacher, maintain the business courses that we have, and meet the graduation requirements. The transition coordinator, like I said, really works with students to provide, to help with the activities needed to make that move from high school to college, career, or community readiness. And it really is intended to support not just students, but families in that transition to that post-secondary education, employment, or assisted living. There are several other personnel items that are in the budget. These are all much smaller. None of them are staff. One that I will point out is a website manager and additional tech support to the district. I said to the finance last night, I feel like I'm always asking for tech support. We've never, every year that we add it, we usually get somebody in place, and our technicians over so frequently that we often lose them within the course of that school year. There's just so many options for people who have that kind of skill out there right now. And so we have not really increased our tech staffing to the level it needs to be, essentially when we added an entire fleet of one-to-one devices to our district. Speaking of technology, this does have a significant impact on the district. We continue to maintain the full one-to-one device fleet. We need endpoint protection and ways in which we can manage it in the classroom. We need additional things that we plug into some of those devices, particularly the teacher laptops. We need instructional displays. So like this TV is an instructional display, but we have some that are much more high tech for some of the work that we do in our science and math classes. Virtually every one of our classes has some kind of instructional display for teaching. We have several specialized labs. We're looking to replace one of them that is well past end of life. And then you need software for that one-to-one environment. Our special education department encompasses far more than special education. This is just a very quick glance of all the things that fall under the responsibilities of the pupil services department. Our enrollment in pupil services are in either special education, which is the blue, and then students who have a Section 504 plan continues to hover around 30%. We did see that kind of slow increase to the peak sort of right immediately past COVID. While we are sort of seeing some small declines, I think we're going to probably maintain sort of this like 28, 29% that we saw just sort of immediately prior to the pandemic. A couple of things that are impacting the pupil services budget are rising outplacements, some charter school outplacements, students requiring one-to-one nursing services, students requiring registered behavioral technicians. The HB 5001 is the changing the age that we are required to keep students until the end of their year they turn 22, and then some legal expenses. Overall, the pupil services budget is up 5.5% from the current school year, but this current school year, it actually decreased by over 10% from the previous year. So even though it's up, it's really not back to where it was 2 years ago, because we continue to look for cost savings and efficiencies even in our pupil services department. There's a lot of fiscal uncertainty within this department, including the amount of money we finally get back from the state for excess cost, the variability in terms of placement for our 34 outplaced students, unexpected students moving in and out of the district. Mr. Brandt last night at our finance committee talked about 2 potential situations coming up. One, a student who just moved in who requires some significant supports that we don't even have in the district that we'll have to find, and another potential residential placement for a student. We have received some of the tuition expenses from some of our service providers, particularly ACEs. We had we underestimated what they were going to increase tuition costs for. So those just came through early in the week. So we'll continue to have to make adjustments to our pupil services budget as we continue to get information in. We are adding a school bus, which we have not done for a while, but there are 2 developments going up in Orange that we anticipate are going to significantly increase enrollment and will require additional busing. We know that the Orange Elementary District actually added this bus for the current school year because families are going to start to move in the spring. We assumed we would be able to absorb some of that because so many of our students drive, especially later into the course of the school year as they get more licenses, but we do anticipate the need for an additional run because of those 2 developments. Our capital plan, we have a 5-year capital plan. So just looking kind of for next year, some of the things that we have in our operating budget includes some real exciting stuff like boiler controls and pipe insulation repair, some painting, our CNR account, which is the account where we set aside any unexpended funds. We are looking to, last year when I came, we talked about updating the high school library media center. Now we would like to add the middle school library media centers to that, some lower bleacher replacements, a tech infrastructure long-term plan for when we have to replace our servers and switches and Wi-Fi access points. We've identified a couple small things for end of year potential purchases, but they're minimal at this point in time. And then some 5-year projects. We are building in an annual furniture replacement. It'll be an account that sort of a flat fee that we'll give to principals, and they'll have the discretion to determine which furniture is most critical to replace, when and why. We do have a dust collection system in our CTE area that has to be replaced. Our art classrooms need some updating. We do want to replace some of the sort of gym stage lights at our middle schools. We'd like to do, like I said, the upgrade to our middle school media centers, repair the walking track up at Amity Middle School Bethany, and then put some bleachers and warning tracks onto our baseball and softball fields at the high school. This is just a reminder that we are able to, by statute, set aside up to 2% of unexpended funds into a capital non-recurring account. So this is a statement in the budget book that provides sort of a fair notice that this is something that the board may elect to do if we have those at the end of the year. Our technology 5-year plan does include teacher laptop replacements. Like I said, a 5-year, it's sort of an ongoing plan for the instructional displays instead of getting requests to replace 42 of them all in one school year. Some upgrades to the specialty labs, again, stretched out over time, additional security cameras, and then the massive technology infrastructure replacement. The last time we had to do that infrastructure replacement, it was about $1.3 million. So we're setting aside enough money so that we hopefully do not have to bond for that, which is not a very good thing to bond for, or drastically increase a budget request when all of a sudden we need to replace everything because we can't run any of our computer equipment. We have a 5-year textbook plan. Again, the idea is just to kind of make the textbook funding level and not have these weird spikes where we ask for very few textbooks one year and then all of a sudden request multiple grades and multiple content areas worth of textbooks the following year. Our debt service, you do see decreasing. This is in some ways what has helped offset the large teachers contract increase, was that our debt service did start to go down. Our ADM is what dictates sort of how the funding allocations from the towns come. You can see that Bethany has the change in the negative with a lower enrollment of students from the previous school year. Orange actually takes has the biggest increase in student enrollment, and Woodbridge, while increasing, it's not quite as significant as Orange. So in terms of town allocations, the current budget request overall, it represents 4.9% increase over the current school year. Again, keeping in mind that the teacher's contract alone represents a 4.85% increase from the current school year. You can see how the allocations pan out. Even with that, Bethany would actually show a 2% decrease from the amount that you had to contribute to the 23-24 budget. In terms of comparison, again, looking at DIRG B, The average superintendent increase request is about 5.87%. For all of the budgets that have been proposed, it's about 5.38. So I know the 4.9 is unusually high compared to past years. But again, driven by those teacher contracts, it is still lower than what the averages we are seeing in the state. Frankly, when you look at the list from all the districts in the state, you can almost see the difference between those who just negotiated teacher contracts and those who are still operating on older teacher contracts. It's a pretty stark comparison that kind of settles out right in that high fives area. Several important dates that we have coming up. We'll present to the Amity Board of Education on February 12th. We typically have some kind of special meeting of the Amity Finance Committee where they make a recommendation to the board. It has to occur prior to March 1st. The Amity Board will officially adopt a budget on Monday, March 11th. We have our public district budget hearing on April 8th, the public meeting on May 6th, and anticipating a referendum on May 7th. I also invite all of you to come to the Elected Officials Day. As I have said to people, what schools look like now, particularly middle and high schools, is drastically different than what you could imagine the schools look like 3 years ago or 5 years ago, and certainly 10 years ago. It's radically different. And I think it's helpful in your decision making to have an appreciation for coming to the school. We would love to have you. We ask that you RSVP only because our culinary students will be preparing lunch for you, and they just have to have kind of a head count. We don't, you know, even many of my Board of Ed members don't get to come into the school when kids are actually there. So it's a really great opportunity, and I hope that we are able to see you come to that. And Ms. Loomis and I are happy to answer any questions.
Can I ask a question about the additional math teacher?
Mm-hmm.
So you said you have 60 to 100 students who are at approximately 2 years below grade level
Yes, at the high school.
at the high school. How's one math teacher going to do that?
Well, remember, it's not just one math teacher. So we would have
Well,
the one math
one addition.
interventionist. So they would provide some direct support. They are, so they are still going, we would still maintain the tutors as well. So 2 half-time tutors essentially becomes another kind of teacher. But I think and then we have expectations of our regular classroom teachers that they're also meeting the needs of the students. We've just put in some programs, actually the iReady program, which is what is used in Bethany for identifying students, sort of academic progress and also the areas of deficit. We've just started to use that at the middle and high school. So it's giving us much better information so that regular education teachers can help them as well as the tutors. The other thing is, I think this is the critical piece. Until this year, we didn't have anybody helping our middle school kids. So this year we have 1 teacher. So the sooner we can intervene with kids at the middle school level, hopefully we don't have quite as many kids at the high school level, but years of not having that support, we're really in a deficit now. So I guess that my answer isn't that it's just 1 teacher. It's a whole program of middle school math intervention, some appropriate assessment that gives the regular classroom teacher much better direction for how to help kids, and high school intervention. And so it's all of that together.
So do you have a targeted time for trying to get them all where they ought to?
So if you look into our strategic plan, and the finance presentation had the slide on it, we do have targets. We set targets out for about 2 years of where we want to see those improvements. So we would kind of reset those targets with the data from next year if we had these additional positions, and then assume that there's kind of a 2-year process to sort of achieve the improvements that we're hoping to see.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How many students would you say were below grade level before COVID?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. Certainly our results were higher before COVID. And, but I don't have an exact number. But I think we felt pre-COVID, we were sufficiently, I guess we felt we were okay in terms of math support. So it really, I hate using, it drives me crazy to use it as the excuse, but like, it is definitely a result of lack of instruction. And we think it's lack of, it didn't matter whether they were in 8th grade when they missed the instruction or whether they were in 4th grade. It just is a gap that we have to try to fix.
We could go back to the slide on the attendance. The
Um,
enrollment, I meant to say, I meant enrollment.
Enrollment.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yes, no.
Did I go by?
Forward, yep, forward, there you go, that one.
This is temporary because we know there are more coming up through the community school also.
I was surprised to see Bethany drop. Not that the percentage dropped, but I was surprised to see that the total number.
So if you're sort of familiar with the community school and kind of, I know you've got a couple bubbles there. Yeah, we just sort of, you have to also remember, like, we've got like seniors exiting. And so you probably don't even remember those sort of the size of those classes, but we anticipate sort of overall our enrollment just continuing to increase. The percentages may not change that much because if all the towns are increasing, you still may actually end up with about the same kind of piece of the pie. But yeah, you have to remember this also represents the seniors who are falling off as well as the 7th graders who would be coming up.
You have you have an approximate number for what the cost of all of the unfunded mandates is? Just
No,
ballpark?
so Terry and I tried to work out,
I know it was like another 135,000 next year, just in special ed, right?
yeah,
Just for the 22-year-olds.
yes.
Okay,
So you have that, I mean, you figure we have 2 teachers that are in there that are literal unfunded mandates, so a teacher is what?
Budget about 62,000.
But I think, I mean, and again, all of, pretty much the entire 5.6 or 5.5% of special ed is all unfunded mandate additional cost. Right, because
okay.
tuition and things like that, we have to.
They don't cover those needs, yeah, okay.
Yes, and they don't reimburse us at a full 100%.
But you also have some physical plant issues, right? Isn't that HVAC? Not that once you identify something that you need to deal with it, but the mandatory HVAC
So there's the
inspections.
inspections that we have to.
Did they pay for that?
We paid for the middle school and we encumbered the high school last year.
Mhm.
The middle school didn't result in any real significant issues, so we don't have to address that. So the last piece of the HVAC is what do they find when they do the high school inspection and what requires repairs as a result of that. So we used some of our end of year funds last year to encumber all the HVAC inspections, knowing that it would help offset.
So there's no state funding then to do these or to remediate?
No, I can say we were extremely fortunate. There were several state grants for HVAC system repair. Very early in the process, the very first grant that came around, Ms. Loomis worked really, really hard and applied for it, and a very small percentage of districts received that funding. Amity was one of them, but it was all for work we've already completed. So all it's doing is coming back to us as reimbursement into our CNR. which I believe is going to then help offset the cost of these library media center renovations, which are another huge facilities problem.
I want to go back to the comment that Terry just made. You said that you budget 62,000 for a teacher. That's just the salary outlay, correct?
Right, we also budget for.
So,
benefits.
but that doesn't count double that, so you add in everything else. The all-in cost is not 62 per
No,
teacher.
that's their salary, so
Okay.
we had 20,000 for that.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone?
You have a slide showing the totals, breakdown of the cost increases, like summarizing them, or like per town, basically, or?
Yes.
That's this slide right here. So the variance, so it shows that Bethany will essentially contribute 193,000 less than what they had to contribute for the current fiscal year. Orange has an increase of getting very close to almost 2 million. And Woodbridge an increase of almost 1 million.
Let me get the finance literacy piece. When 17 years ago, when my youngest was a senior at Emory, and we went up to UConn for a workshop. And they were talking about how they wanted to mandate
Financial
financial
literacy.
literacy. And that was 17 years ago, and they finally, yeah.
Financial literacy has been,
It's about 17 years ago, and it's finally being, yeah. So she
Oh,
took
yeah.
business classes, and one of the teachers recommended she go up to this thing, and we went
You go
together.
straight for it?
And they were just really pushing it, that
Yeah.
was 17 years ago, and finally coming to,
no, it's been a proposed statute for about 10, and it finally.
Fine.
succeeded.
Wonder how one's gonna-
It's-
how I feel about this.
Well, there may be an adjustment to 23,
Life skills.
324.
Yeah.
Terry, on 23, 24, isn't there a potential adjustment because of a
Page
surplus?
27. I think it's on page 27, Terry.
Yeah, if you look in the budget one. We have on page 15. In the column with November 2024,
There it is. Okay,
was the prior year credit for Bethany, 242,337.
okay. So is that using the identical census distribution? Then there isn't anything that changes because of the census change from year to year?
So the credit is based on the year that you gave the money. So whatever your allocation rate was for the year that the money was appropriated for is how the money is returned.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
okay. And so if, in terms of census, what we had, we went down 10, is that correct? Census? We
Number
went,
of students,
yeah,
you get down 35 or
30.
uh,
Overall.
Because
I was
some
thinking-
graduated.
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
interim.
Yeah, me too. It's a-
Okay. And yet, if we go up, just.
You just can't go up now if it's orange, that's it.
No, what the increase is gonna be really, they have those two new developments,
Yeah,
so they don't even
exactly.
know
They,
who's gonna be moving in.
Yeah.
they're, yeah, that they've
That
got
could be a potential.
something else.
Boost, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, in terms of the specific questions, if anyone doesn't have a specific question for tonight, if after you have a chance to look at it, you have a question, send it, email it to me, and I will forward it. Okay, and make sure that you get an answer.
So what we'll do, it's the same process we did last year, because I thought it was very beneficial. Any member of boards of finance, boards of selectmen, board of ed, or AFC. We keep a running document. It will be posted on our website. It will just say questions and answers about the Amity budget. As if you submit them through Ms. Huxley, Ms. Loomis and I will answer them about once a week. We'll kind of check the document, see what questions are in there. We'll post the answers. It'll always be updated in real time. It'll help because a lot of times people have the same questions, so it's a good resource to go back and look and see what questions people are asking and what the answers are. But then it's also a great way for your question to be very public and the answer to be very public. So we just kind of keep that updated. It's pretty successful last year. It worked really well. It ended up being like 12 pages long with all kinds of good questions and great answers. And so the intent is to do the same thing again this year. So yeah, just very simple, like ask away and we'll do our best to answer.
And for your reading enjoyment, you do have all of the line item detail, in the second half of the, well, we have our own.
We got our own reading to do. So you mentioned earlier that there's been some comment that there's no more advanced placement
Yeah.
classes. Oh, okay. That's just something people have been saying.
Yeah, there have been a couple articles in some of the Orange Milford Times and Orangetown News that have said that, and so I just want to clear the record that we offer more advanced courses than we have in the past couple of years.
Okay. Somebody's out there with alternate facts.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Britton, Ms. Hubbard, any questions, comments?
Stop share?
Yes, we can stop share, I think.
Stop share. Can
What?
I stop share now, or we should look at that, or just wanna wait
I
a
don't
second?
know.
Okay.
First, check and see, I see two chat,
No, that's cool from the
that
beginning
was
of the
cool.
meeting,
All
yeah.
right, then I think we should ask her if she has a question, because she's up there. If
Well, we're
she's,
not muted, so you can ask her if she has a
all right.
question.
Fua, do you have any?
No,
Any
thanks.
questions?
I just wanted to see what was going on with things.
All right,
But
if
thank you.
you can come in and pick up one of these packages tomorrow if you want to take a look at it.
Great, thank you.
All right, then you can stop screen sharing.
Okay, thank you.
We got
Thank
it.
you all very much. We appreciate
Oh.
it.
Thank you.
Don't get blown away outside. It feels like it's
Yeah,
getting pretty
good.
windy up there now. So
Okay,
be careful.
okay, so we'll just take a 3-minute recess in case somebody wants to walk around.
Do you want me to put up for us?
See if your car's
for
will or
recording?
anything. So we'll move on with our agenda. Item number 3, approving the minutes of previous meetings. First, the October 10th meeting. So which one? Do we now have a quorum?
No,
No.
so this is one that I was supposed to go back and listen to
Okay.
the recording on, and I forgot. So
All
I
right, we will-
apologize about that. I will defer to next.
We'll table that one
meeting, if that's okay.
until February. The November 14th meeting, we had, let's see, in order to have for November 14th, we needed, well,
Yeah, I went back. And
yes,
watched-
okay, because there are only 4 of us.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and would somebody like to move the approval of those minutes?
move.
Okay.
I'll second.
Then, Lars, your recall is probably better than the rest of
I
us.
know.
Which, having watched it
Yeah.
more recently.
There's nothing.
Nothing? All right, anybody? Anything? All right, hearing nothing, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's. And then the December 12th meeting. Let's see. What did we have?
Was Martha next?
Okay,
on
all
in
of
November?
us who were there
No, she wasn't.
are here and John is here, so. Okay, do I have a motion concerning these? Actually, I have to look at something. I was going to mark up the minutes and I forgot to do that. Did anyone proof them? Did either of you proof them for grammar and
We looked through them. pretty-
did you find mistakes? Because I saw quite a few and I don't want to take the time now to.
I don't recall seeing any.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'd like to table them because I don't want to take up your time right now to go through and mark them up. Is that all right? Yep, okay. There were things that seemed like maybe the sound, the quality of the sound was not as good as it could have been for transcription. Okay. Let me. What we have, all right, just warning you, we're going to have other business, okay? Before you think we'll get down to the end, I'm done. Leslie. quickly.
The numbers are attached. There's no significant change for red warning lights from last month. If someone noticed something that they would like to discuss, I'm happy to explain it away.
The A3 there, we had agreed to the 29th and the 2nd starting at 3. And for the budget meetings.
Okay.
Remember, it was
Yep,
either
yep.
4 of them at 6 or 2 of them at 3. And there
And
we are.
just so you know, I'm
Yeah.
going to post the 29th at 3 o'clock as a special meeting for the. Oh, sorry.
Yes, the first thing that's going to happen is it will be a special meeting because John Acadolo is coming that day
Yeah.
at 3
At 3
o'clock
o'clock.
to discuss the audit. After that, I think I emailed you and everybody and said that if necessary, after that, we'll adjourn to our budget workshop. If somebody needs to leave, we can hold our workshop with less than a quorum, but we can't accept the audit without a quorum. So we need everybody here then.
Yeah, and I gave everyone a copy of the audits to give you the opportunity to look through it, to read, in the event you have any questions or, concerns that you want to address to John when he is here.
Yeah.
It was actually very nice to have it done on time for a change.
And I guess an explanation of his one finding is not out of order. He says that when we made a budget transfer, the original number and the revised budget number didn't show up on the budget. That's because our software doesn't do it. We went back and checked and we did it all correctly. It's just that both numbers don't show it on the published budget. So let's see, next thing, grants. Is there anything we have to do at this time?
No, there really isn't anything that we have to deal with at the moment. Just want everyone to know that the environmental approval has been granted for the HUD grant. So we are waiting on contract for the contract funding. They say we do have the green light to go out to bid on the project, which is major progress.
Which was the HUD grant? I'm sorry, I don't remember by name.
Delora, the HUD grant.
That's,
6A1. That's the $1 million.
that's sort of the second part of the gym.
What environmental did you have?
They had to make sure, since it's going through HUD.
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure that there's no endangered species living on the property. There is no like brownfield. I mean, they had it, the water, they just had to clear all types of environmental things to make sure that we were not going to upset the ecosystem around the building.
Okay. So I'm totally familiar with that. That totally makes sense to me. Like, oh, the box turtles, like, yeah. So
Yes.
I wasn't sure if it was like environmental, internal environmental quality
No.
stuff. Like
No.
mold and stuff. That's what I was just curious.
No, are we going to be, drilling 8 feet outside and, who knows what we might come into? Yeah, it was,
What might be under the old ramp
yeah.
that's being removed.
Mhm. But we
never know.
cleared everything, so we're good.
The native spider species that's living under the ramp.
Well, luckily, they probably would have frozen at this point. right?
Get washed away.
Yes, in terms of the chairman's
It's a
report,
bitsy spider, right?
yeah. Ew. The ones that hide out in places like that are not usually itsy bitsy. They're usually pretty good, at least if my barn is an indication. In terms of the chairman's report, we last month, the ask on the Amity budget was over 5%. Now it's down to 4.9. The details are in here, but neither of the budget reviews that I participated in did go through any of the detail, and last night was the first time it was handed out to us, but as Jen mentioned her presentation, the clock really had stopped, so she kept talking until somebody told her, you have to stop, it's time for the Board of Ed meeting. But she essentially she got through only the very superficial part and not into any of the detail, which then goes, honestly, got another 100 pages of it. Consequently, please look, ask questions, everything. Certainly none of their educational objectives sound inappropriate. It's just it's a huge bite. Okay, yeah. 485 is that each year for the salary?
I actually don't know.
You
So
don't know.
I know, I'm not surprised by the number, the total 13, but I didn't know how it got finalized and how it
Yeah.
got broken down.
485 for the first
For the
year.
first year, yeah.
So that's well, cumulative. Okay,
It's basically 13, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
13 and a half.
13.5, yeah.
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 Okay. And we don't know yet. We don't have any kind of numbers yet from Bethany.
I was about to ask about that. Do you know how that?
I do not, I have an email out to Kay and Brandy, but I do not have numbers.
I don't know what the Board of Ed did.
I mean, what,
Do you know?
no,
You haven't heard.
what we
Okay, so-
know, but what we know right now is we are being told a 9% increase for health insurance for next year.
But they're waiting to do a couple of more
For-
months
for-
of claims to see
For
if things
Bethany
adjust
and the Board
Yeah.
of Ed, yes,
Mm.
there's talk,
in the hopes
That's-
that that will come down, but they can't promise that right now.
yeah.
Oh, combined between Bethany budget and Board of Ed.
Oh, no,
budget.
9% for
Okay.
medical, we're in the same pool.
Yeah.
They're talking 9%, and Terry told us today that their health insurance is
It's
also,
going down.
no,
Last night she told us it was going down.
no, she told us today that she is expecting to go over budget this year. And right now, the numbers are looking at it's like a 7% increase. Now, she told the finance directors for the 3 towns this morning that it's probably going to go up.
Who's Terry?
Terry
To the
Lewis.
sister
Oh,
with us
yeah,
in the-
yeah, okay. I thought we were talking about Bethany, yeah, sorry.
No, I'm sorry, no.
All right, so seriously, questions, they want them all consolidated on. In one place at the, at the moment, we're all having they are having a security issue where their server won't let anybody in.
Seems to have erased all of us out of their share point,
Yeah.
something or other, so yeah.
So they send us emails, but we can't open things. It's bizarre.
What was Woodbridge and Orange's reaction to the budget?
They haven't.
They didn't say-
No, at the meeting,
Oh,
at
they
Oh,
didn't
that's
at
say-
your meeting.
I
They didn't
was
say
the
a
only
word?
person who asked. a
Well,
question.
Joe never says anything anyway, because he can't.
Yeah, we were the first ones to have. their
Yeah, they came
presentation
to,
this
they
time.
came to us first this time.
Yeah, but usually their group is pretty vocal. Used to be.
I was not able to, I never can stay for the Board of Ed meeting because I have another meeting up here right after that, so. I don't know, and Donna wasn't there. So and Andrea was, is she still here, Bob, or did she
Yeah,
leave?
she left.
That's your stuff, okay. So, I don't,
Well, just the surplus every single year is,
there, well,
you know, when you ask the auditor,
it's going to be less this year.
yeah, because they're gonna use the funds at the last minute, but when you ask the auditor, their auditor
Mhm.
for the board of, for Amity, you know, the Amity audit. They always say it's much higher than it probably should be. And compared to their other accounts. And they get, who do they have for theirs? Save,
Yes.
yeah, they've got a big firm.
Mhm.
I just find that amazing. And then today, when she presented, you know, I know she's presenting to a group and I know all the ins and outs, but they really focused on, well, look at Bethany's, you know, look at the Bethany's, you guys are down and, you know, you guys are you're under 190,000.
Now, we
But
all
you-
have to pay attention to the bottom line.
But see, that's the problem. And anyone in Bethany, when they say
Goes
that,
around, comes around.
we vote yes when it's 5%, 4% increase the last couple of years, and it was, you know, even convincingly yes. So,
It was 2.25 last year.
yeah, but the other two towns are much more,
Yes.
you know, in tune, I think. I know she's gonna look at that number and everyone in Bethany, oh, wow, that's good, we're under. But you're under because you're short 18 new student, you know, and then how many graduated, 35, whatever the number was. You know,
I know the sense.
it's still enormous.
I think long-term average, we're like 20% of the population. We've been over 24.
Yeah, 20 points,
If
something.
there's a- if
It'd
there's
be between 20 and 24%, and now we're,
at 16, I
Yeah.
mean, so if there's Orange or Woodbridge goes down and we go up a little bit, we'll just end up with a.
well,
a
it's
big-
happening because
Well,
it's
that's what-
happening in the
It happened my
community
first
school.
year as chair. I walked in, here I was, you know, just shy, you know, 800,000.
Mhm.
You know,
The
we were
community
over.
school has gone up 60 kids in 2 years.
BCS. So
So-
it's coming,
Yeah, it's gonna be around the corner,
well,
but. You know, they just, I don't know, I just say that their increases are just. And then they find the 2 or 3 million over. And if it's too high, you know,
their audited surplus for 23 is 2.4 million.
but see,
That's not where they are for the current year because they didn't get as much of an increase as they wanted last year.
so during our transition. I think it was Sitzer, was the build maintenance person, was that the one?
Jim Sisa.
And he retired, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So he reported to us that there were problems with the roof.
Mhm.
And that we would need repairs going forward. We were still under contract and warranty to fix the roof, but they did nothing about it, and now we're fixing the roof. At Amity High School,
We are,
there's parts of it, I think in the long-term plan and everything, there's roof stuff.
but in like
But
10
it
years.
was, but at that time, there were problems with the
Oh.
roof,
Okay,
and they knew about it. That's what, see, that's where I don't know how they get these increases and they prep us for all this stuff and yet.
I don't know who serves on those committees. Maybe we should ask Donna if she'd like to get, if she could get on one. Do you know how they
Facilities?
put people on the different committees?
I'm not sure. I don't know if the chair decides who goes on what, committees.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I only have the one seat on the one committee.
Well, there are many, if you looked at the vendor, I think we only have 2 seats on the
We,
whole thing, so
well,
it's
we-
kind of,
we have 2 on the board and 2
Yeah.
on finance, so
I
yes,
mean.
okay. But anything that you would like, either general comments, questions, anything, send them to me, and as soon as I get a link that works, I will pass them on. Okay, and get them back to you. We have next. That's it from me, because you heard the presentation tonight. The only other thing, we should do it under other business. We have a potential person to fill a vacancy. I think Katie's gonna make a nomination when we get to there.
Okay,
Um,
I'm good.
yeah,
As you came in, you probably saw that the gym was closed. It said do not enter. That is because we have started the addition. Well, I think the addition isn't quite started yet. They've taken the ramps off and started to dig the hole for the foundation, but Mother Nature has kind of given us a couple of twists and turns here, so they're probably gonna have a mud hole out there for a few days. But it has started, so, if Mother Nature cooperates, we can move it along. I was informed today that we do have a tentative closing date for the Simpson property, finally, the end of this month. So after, I don't know how many years, because it started before I even came into office, we hopefully will see some closure on that, fingers crossed. Russell Road, there is no change. I know the family did come in to pay some of the back taxes, but there still is lien with mortgage and stuff that has to be cleared before we can close on that property, so it's still kind of on hold on our end. Betsy will be finalizing the grand list sometime later this month, hopefully within the next week or two. It is a substantial jump with the tentative number that she gave me. So I'm glad I was sitting down when she told me. But apparently Colonials took the biggest hit with the revals, because mine was 49%. So yeah, yes, I see your eyes going bulging right out of your head there. Yeah, so that was a sticker shock. But once she finalizes that, and then it's up to the budget, and then the town meeting, the mill rate, and we go sort of from there.
we
So,
need to find out what the state is going to do about the motor vehicle cap, because that will fit into our budgeting, and whether the reimbursement from
well, if
is
we go below,
still funded.
depending on what happens with the mill rate, will determine if the state reimburses you.
No. Well, if we,
Yeah.
no, it's the, whatever it was only funded for 2 years.
Which would be the second year, but if we go below that cap, then we wouldn't get the reimbursement.
Well, you can cross your fingers, but
Yeah.
I'd like
to see.
I'd
this
like
year,
to
but
know what
Well,
the
I-
state has in
I am
mind.
pretty sure that we are in year 1 of a 2-year budget. Which
Right.
means that the motor vehicle
They had not
reimbursement
funded.
was going to be funded for 2 years. I'm pretty sure I had preliminary numbers for both fiscal 24 and 25
Okay,
for the motor vehicle.
that would be.
I will
Okay.
confirm that.
Right.
We usually, the numbers start rolling in from OPM the middle of February to the beginning of March with what you can anticipate revenue wise.
Okay. Because there was also some discussion of completely eliminating the motor vehicle tax.
Oh, as of right now, the motor vehicle tax is not going to be
Right.
eliminated.
Okay, as long as,
It's just it's the reimbursement based off of a cap that we may not be eligible for if the
Which is
mill
fine.
rate is reduced that significantly.
it would be nice.
Well, hopefully by the February meeting, or even actually the workshops, we might have the, grand list confirmed by then, so I can give you that number. Hopefully maybe by the workshops.
And we need the breakouts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she gives me
yeah.
she gives me the breakdown. She
Okay.
gives me the breakdown.
We will have that.
Okay,
Because Betsy has said that she does not want to wait until January 31st to submit the grand list
Okay.
for
She's-
fear of
The
computer
system
crash.
being down. That was her.
So she's hoping to have it done the week before
Mhm.
for us. So we
Okay.
should have that for our meeting on the 29th.
all right, so control issues we probably don't have to deal with
Not tonight.
tonight because of, but okay, other business. Critically important is filling our vacancy on the board and
Yes,
Katie,
I would like to propose Sally Hazard as the sixth board member.
You said you had two names at the beginning of.
The other was
meeting.
Betsy Thornquist, but Sally says she's able to do it, so. I don't know the process for this, so.
you
that was-
make a nomination.
Oh, okay, so
But
that
did
was
you
it,
talk to Betsy? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Did you talk to Betsy and she showed interest in it as well?
yeah,
Okay.
so, I'd like to nominate Sally Heiser.
Okay, then a second from anyone? Somebody?
I'll second.
I think, honestly, I think either one of them, they know, they've been through the
They
process.
would both be able to do it, yeah.
They would be, any, okay, so basically, because, we leave it to you to decide who from your party would be nominated, so. Those in favor?
Right.
Okay, so,
She will have to be sworn in by Will.
yeah, she'll have to come in and get sworn in, and then she's gonna get her big packet of paperwork.
Yeah.
Actually, we're all gonna get a big packet of paperwork, right?
Yes.
She will just be filling the remainder
Yeah,
of Kathy
it's
Barone's,
2 years.
term.
I don't know how much Kathy had left on her term.
2 years.
It was 2 years left.
I think so.
We can
Oh.
verify that
No,
with Will.
four.
We can-
She might have
think
4.
we have to.
We can confirm that.
Have 4.
Yes.
Okay. Only a budget season. We get punchy, and it's bad to get punchy at the beginning of it, right? All right, so we have who is coming in on the 29th and besides John, and what format? Is everybody going to be ready this time? Actually ready?
Yes, everyone has submitted, with the exception of 2 departments. And the fire department, everyone has submitted their budget to me. And Paula and I are taking the time to meet with them. To hear out their thought process that they put into it. So we know the surprises.
And making any initial adjustments, if there's any wiggle room that we can kind of reduce something if it's. You
Okay,
know.
now, we had asked you to have them try to keep it at the 0 and not put in the salaries.
Well, most departments have not put in salaries. What we have seen so far is there are increases, but it is because of contractual obligations that there are increases. For example, the one line on the assessors has gone up 32%. Because the contractual obligation for QDS is that much more. For next year
not a
versus
salary.
this year.
That's
not-
not a salary.
No, it's not a
I thought
salary.
It's
you were talking
quality.
about
It's
salary.
not-
No,
It's the
no.
program they use.
It's a program. It's the assessor's online program with quality.
Okay.
So that's where most of the increases are,
With outside vendors, outside, you know,
Mhm.
so.
but we do have
can try.
we have not met with the two largest spending departments yet. Tomorrow morning, we will meet with Park and Rec and Public Works.
Yeah, but.
All right, but you are gonna be bringing us actual recommended budgets.
Yeah.
Okay, and
What I'll do is I'll send out something to get an RSVP because I'll have to order dinner. So I
Mhm.
want to make sure that I know how many people.
how many of us, you mean?
Right, yeah,
Okay,
and Leslie and
And
myself and.
can we request them to have, if they're going to discuss that budget with us, that they have no more than one sheet with bullet points?
We could ask,
Okay.
yeah, we could ask for a
I
summary.
mean, let's try to
Summary
keep
budget
it
sheet.
really,
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
brief instead of,
Well, that's one of the reasons we're trying to meet with them ahead of time,
Yes,
is so
yeah.
we can kind of simplify things and really hone in on the important,
Mhm.
you know.
but some of them kind of start off from zero anyway, so. You know,
Mhm.
and we don't want to do that particularly.
And I did ask everyone to turn in capital requests separate from regular budgets.
But in the same time frame.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, yes,
Yes,
That-
and
I
so
guess
far
that's
there's
a-
2 capital
a
requests.
reminder that there actually should be capital requests if they have. Okay,
Are we still planning to do February 2nd too for a budget workshop?
why does this
Yeah,
say?
yes, The Monday and the
Yes,
Friday, the Monday and the Friday.
That's on page 1 under 4, the budget workshops. The reason why the next meeting has the January and the February on it is because of the budget presentation at that first budget workshop.
And then the regular meeting will be on February 13th.
Yeah, and I totally blanked, but we switched it to 6:30 today, so I apologize for that. Cause my phone defaulted to 7 o'clock, so I changed it.
It's your phone's fault, it's okay.
Yeah.
You get to blame your phone once. Right. Okay, so. Is there anything else that we need? We need to deal with tonight that I might have forgotten about?
The only thing that there's, the sort of wish list of grant opportunities going forward, is that something you guys have started to draft? So that you can have it as like a quarterly talking point or something like that?
I am working with Jen on pulling some things together. We're gonna start with what we have that we have submitted in the past that has not been approved.
Cause some of these come up annually, and then some come up as all of us, like a one-shot kind of thing, and you're given a short window frame to apply for these things.
That's
But
why I
some
was
of them
asking
are,
about
some of them
it.
are, you know, annual,
Yeah,
things that.
because
that come
there
up.
is one that was applied for that we were told no, but it would be beneficial to the town, which would be to make that park, the lodge, a true emergency shelter with showers, generator. And it was a very large price tag that went along with it, but we do have some engineering work done on that as well. So we have,
A lot
we
of
have
these grants, yeah.
we have conceptual plans and drawings for that.
Mhm.
So we're going to start with what we've applied for that we've been denied, and then we're going to build from there. It's not something that I can have done in a month's time frame.
And a
but
lot of
yes.
these grants require engineered drawings or
Right.
other things
So,
that.
but no, it is going to be done. I just don't have it done for tonight.
Yeah, and
And I haven't lost sight
Yeah.
of doing the grant wish list.
Yeah, I think
The
a
project.
wish list can be just around things that would be nice to have, not things that we think are available right now.
Right,
I mean,
So-
presumably, like, we have time to think about it,
Mhm.
and, you know, like, maybe we can use that time to evaluate whether or not these ideas are sort of half baked, or we can, you know,
And a lot
evolve
of
them, you
times-
know, like, and so we're not just throwing things together, you know. we
Correct. A
can-
lot of times grants are very specific too, as to what you can apply for. The criteria are very narrow, so, you know,
Mhm.
but we've actually done more grants in the last couple of years than prior to, so. But all these things keep coming
Yes.
at us, so.
We're going to find it, we're gonna dust off everything that's in the drawer. Classify it and.
Blue
go from
sky. It might be, you know, it might be something for us to think about as we are talking to the department heads, each one saying, if there was a grant available to do something, anything, what would you like? And we can just make a list. Right, that's a good idea. It's something, it's just something to think about, that it's a way to get ideas. Right. All right, then, there being nothing else, that motion that we do look forward to. John, and Katie. Those in favor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Good night.
for stopping the recording. Yes.
Is anyone going to miss elected officials day?
Yeah.
Yeah,